Hey guys, welcome back. Joe here from 9 to 5ers. We'll be doing a case study on some multimillionaires, see what they're doing that you might be doing differently, and maybe how you can do, maybe you can mimic what they're doing to get to that point where you are at millionaire status and become financially free. So let's do some talking points, see what they did right, see what they did wrong, and see if we can't take away some gold nuggets from this case study that I pulled up a while back. So first and foremost, this person is in their 50s and they have a full-time job. They are married and they have two kids. They have about $2.2 million in assets as a net worth. And when we talked to them a little bit about it, they had about half in a 401k, which was basically in the stock market, mutual funds, ETFs, and about the other half was in real estate investments. And they are located in the Arizona, I think Phoenix area is when we talked to them. So that's the basic makeup of their portfolio. Now, we asked them, what kind of stupid things did you do along the way to your success? Because all successful people have made tons of mistakes. I will always go to venture to say that successful people make more mistakes than people that are unsuccessful because they're just trying new and different things. So what are some stupid things they did along the way? Both spouses had student loan debt that they kind of came up with when they graduated college, and they had to make payments on those. They had car loans. They were keeping up with the Joneses in their lifestyle when they were before they got serious about their investments. And of course, they had mortgages, and they even had another type of loan that is super embarrassing that they didn't even want to admit to me, but they did. And this is what was called a pool loan. Now, a pool loan is not a loan that you have when you have a gambling problem and you're down at the pool hall. This is someone that went out and bought a pool that you swim in attached to their house, and they made payments on it. And I asked them, I was like, do you guys actually use your pool? And they go, yeah, we're in Arizona. We use this all the time. And I was like, okay, well, at least there's that. But they had a loan on a pool that they were making payments on instead of paying cash for it. Now, obviously, I know that pools are extremely expensive. They're not, a TV or whatever, but this was just more debt that they had on top of their student loans, their car loans, and their mortgages that they were paying already on it. So they're eating up their cash flow significantly. So they had a pivot point that at some point in their lives, they were kind of like, we are working half of the time we're at work, we are working for somebody else. We are working for one of our debtors, and they're the ones making, and they're not doing anything. All they did was just, put a pool in our house, or they gave us an education, or they supplied us with a car. And now that's all they did, and they're done with it now. And now we're making all of these payments to them for years and years and years and years. So their pivot point was that they focused on, okay, what can we pay off first? And they started with the mortgages. They had a couple of mortgages on they had a mortgage on their personal residence, and they paid that off first. That seemed to be the lowest one that they had there. And then they moved to the pool loan, and they kind of snowballed from there. So their first thing that they did was they started a debt snowball mentality of paying off their debts. They did realize also that one of them was much better with the finances than the other. The wife was actually a lot better with their money, and the wife decided to create their own freedom plan, and she was the CEO of the finances of that household. So I talked to them a little bit about, give me a breakdown of the other properties that you own, the rental properties, like what's going on with those, what's your purpose with those? How are you calculating that information? And they wanted to know, they gave me some information on it, and they wanted to know, how do we calculate that income from the rental properties? And I was like, you got to look at the rental properties almost as if it's like a battery, like it's an unrealized gain or an unrealized, you haven't sold the property. So if they said that the one property they had was worth close to $500,000. And I'm like, well, okay, so you have a property, but you don't have $500,000. You have one or the other. Like when you sell it, then you trade the property for the $500,000. And they're like, yeah. So look at the house that you have there that's paid off as an unrealized gain. You have $500,000, but it is in bricks and mortar and foundation and roofing materials. And I was like, look at the income from the rentals as like a dividend. Like you have an ETF, but it's a dividend. And they wanted to know, should we count our rentals as part of our assets? Is it an asset or is it not? And if so, how much should we calculate it as? And I was like, it is an asset for sure. And you have it as an asset, but it's not super liquid. Like real estate is not as liquid as stocks. It's real estate is fluctuates less than what the stock market does, but it is technically not a it is not like a liquid asset, so to speak. So you should count it, but I want you to be conservative with how you calculate the price of it. So I was like, what is the market rate of the house? And he said it's worth $500,000. And I was like, okay, let's knock off 15%, like automatically. And he goes, well, why 15%? I was like, well, if you sell it, you're going to have to pay a realtor. You're going to pay for all the closing. You're going to pay for closing costs. You're going to pay taxes on it. I was like, let's just take off 15% of the value. So he recalculated that asset down because he's going to have to pay for that at some point when he does sell that property. He's not going to get the full $500,000 out of it if that's what he believes it's worth. And he said, okay, so now his asset has been adjusted slightly towards what it would be worth if he actually sold it, if he realized that gain. And he was like, he asked me about it. He goes, well, he's like, how do I calculate rental properties down the road? And I said, well, there's 3 basic ways that I calculate real estate, like the value of it, because it can be an art. If you want to really fluff up your numbers and look like that you're living a lot larger than what you are, then you can go in there and you can find a website or a comparable that doubles the value of your property, even though it's really not worth that much. So if you want to be aggressive, extremely aggressive on the value of your rental properties, I told him, I go, look at the projected market value of it right now, and that's what it's worth. And that's what you were doing. It was $500,000. So basically what we're saying here is we're being extremely aggressive, and we're saying that a buyer is going to pay us $500,000 and all the closing costs, and we're going to figure out a way to get rid of the taxes somehow. We're going to not do anything illegal, but we're going to figure out a way to mitigate the taxes or eliminate the taxes. And he said, okay. And I was like, I'm like, in the middle of the road is like, what did you buy it for? And then he told me what he bought it for. And I go, listen, that's another way to calculate it too. It is much more conservative in your area, which is in appreciation, is going up over time. That the value of the house is going to go up, up, and up, which is great. But if you keep it at your buy price, then that means that your asset is not going to appreciate on paper or in your calculations. You're going to realize a much larger gain down the road than what you were expecting to get. And it makes your portfolio look a little bit more conservative than what it actually is. And that's kind of what I am pro. In my area, if you want to be super conservative, you can go at the auditor's site. And the auditor's site, they, as a basic rule of thumb, they take whatever the actual value of the property is and they just cut it in half and they say that's what it's worth and that's what we're taxing it on. Now, the auditor's site does account for appreciation, so that number does go up over time, but it's going to take a while for it to get to the point where it would be not a conservative number anymore. But it's still going to be at 50%. Excuse me, it's still going to be at 50% of the actual value. So we're always going to be super conservative. So that's another way to value that house. So it's worth on paper, it's either worth $500,000 or it's worth $250,000 or it's worth somewhere in the middle. Now, you can put that on paper at any number that you want to because it's just on paper and you can do whatever you want with that. But that depends on your outlook and how you are looking at your portfolio. Do you want to be super aggressive with it and, want to be aggressive / optimistic, or do you want to be conservative and lower your numbers a little bit? And based on the way talking with him, he's like, I want to take the middle of the road. So I go, okay, then focus on that. Then take it at the buy price and don't add any appreciation in, at least for a 5 or 10 year time. You're allowed to up it maybe every once in a while if you hold it for a really long period of time, but keep it at a conservative number at what you bought it at, and you got a deal for it. And make sure that when you are looking at your rental income, make sure that it is a dividend. And that was the conversation that I had with this person when they were talking about me, how they should value their property. And so going back to the talking points that we had here of like doing a case study of this, look at their portfolio makeup. They had $2.2 million and they were debt free. And out of that $2.2 million, they had half of it in the stock market and they had half of it in real estate. And they had expected rates of return in the stock market of like, let's say 7%. And the real estate, they expected not about a 50% higher than that. So about 10, 11% they were expecting to get from their real estate holdings in the form of rent. Now they had a 50-50 split in their portfolios. That's considered diversification, and diversification can go in as diversified as you want it to go. But they're diversified not by just stocks, but they're also diversified by asset class. And that's what I really want to pull from this, is that people say diversification is like, well, I got money in the tech industry, and I got it in the banking industry, and I got it in the cyclicals, and I got it in oil. Like, yeah, but that's all stocks. That's all stock stuff. Like that's all considered stock. And yes, it's different industries, but it's not different compared to, say, a commodity or real estate, or doing a joint venture with somebody they're starting up a business and you are the private lender and you have a stake in the company. That's real diversification versus just I have stocks in different things. So make sure that you are aware of that, the difference between having money like diversified in the stock market versus real diversification. Another takeaway that I got from this is that they were dumb with their money for a good long time, and they got dumb stuff with their money. They got a pool loan. They had multiple mortgages. They had car loans and they had student loans. They were doing what everybody else was doing. And they still found a way to turn it around, become debt-free, and have a net worth of $2.2 million. That means that everybody out there listening to this can do dumb stuff with their money and still turn it around. So not all hope is lost, and not everybody inherited their money, and you can make bad decisions and come back from them. You have to stop making bad decisions to come back from them, obviously, but not all hope is lost, and you become financially free just like these people are here. $2.2 million. You can, if the assets in that portfolio grow and they reinvest their money, they can live off of that for the rest of their lives as long as they live within their means. So I hope you guys got some takeaways from this. Please like, comment, subscribe. If you guys want to see more case studies, let me know, and we will bring more of those down the road to you. Thank you so much. Have a good day.